Okay, so we're gonna have an interesting discussion, and it will be about AI and ChatGPT in education. And so, as many of us are aware, AI has taken us by storm. So we've actually been surrounded by it for many years now. And it's just that recently the developments are just so fast, and being out there, allowing people to actually use it, normal people, not programmers, not computer scientists, has become such a scare for educators because of the many things that can be done using this platform, this technology. So maybe we should start off by introducing ourselves. Just say a little bit about yourself. And I'll start with me. I am Alevil Macaisa. I'm a homeschool educator, a Filipino based here in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Pass it on to Celeste.
I'm just saying goodbye to Risa. Sorry. Hello, hello to everybody. My name is Celeste Mulholland. I'm a tutor in English, so I'm not a full-time teacher, but I've had an interest in the use of AI for education, and that's why I'm very pleased to be joining this group today in discussion. Thank you.
I'm Amy Ashcraft. I am from Dayton, Ohio, and I'm an educator. Glad to be here and interested in this discussion.
I'm Galit Zamler. I'm from Israel. I've developed the Entrepreneurship for Kids program, and I run hackathons via Educaton, and I'm happy to be here.
Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Taffy from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm an educator at Kikau Cultures. I work with young people to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals through their innovations. Glad to be here to talk about AI. I'm also your host to this session, so in case of anything, do let us know. Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Taffy from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm an editor at Kikau Cultures.
Michelle, do you have YouTube on in the background? If you do, just mute it.
Glad to be here to talk about AI. I'm also your host to this session, so in case of anything, do let us know.
Might not be her mute's off. Rika, can you mute for a second?
It was
it's out. It's off.
Yeah, it was Rika. My name is Jake Mendelson. I was originally an engineer and I drifted into education. I am old, so I've been involved since the very beginning of computers, and I've seen how they've developed. But I have nieces and nephews who are deeply involved in all the high-tech things that are going on and AI. So I have asked them what they think, and I will be conveying some of their thoughts.
Great. Is there anybody else joining us?
Yeah, I'll introduce myself. I'm not where I can have a video capability. My name is Rekha Patel. I was born and raised in Nairobi, Kenya. So I just thought I'd throw that out for Michelle. And I live in Houston, Texas. I'm a geologist that has been in exploration, and then I went into software, and now I'm in technology. I'm building a collaboration platform for progressive innovation with contextual collaboration. This topic was of great interest to me today, so I had planned on joining in, but unfortunately I have a couple of things going on in parallel, so I didn't have a video capability, but very interested in hearing what everybody has to present today. Provide reflections if I can.
Rika, when you do want to talk, don't be afraid just to speak up and butt in. It's okay.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. So maybe we'd start with defining what ChatGPT is. So ChatGPT is Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer. Chat meaning its ability to engage in conversation and generate human text-like manner. Generative, meaning it can create or generate text based on the input it receives. And pre-trained means it has to be trained. It doesn't know anything unless it has been fed information. So the analogy that has been given is that it's like you have this really smart librarian or a walking encyclopedia, or basically Google is now a person, and you could ask ChatGPT anything and it already digests the knowledge that it knows from the whole internet until September 2021 and presents it to you in the manner that you're asking it to, whether it's an essay, a table of information, a list of questions, or even, let's say, a lesson plan. So that's how it works. And it's just one of the different things that we could do with AI. One of the things that is coming up with AI is now the question of how can we use it in order to make learning more engaging or personalized. And those are things that are the positive of using these technologies. But then, of course, the other side is how can we make sure that there are safeguards for our privacy, for our information, and also that the learning that's happening is still quality and not being compromised because of the use of these technologies. So if you have any thoughts on this, maybe we could start with the question of how do you think we can harness this in order to improve or really make learning better for our students?
Okay, so I'll go, and I think I'll be speaking on behalf of I don't know. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Galit. So because she's doing experiential hackathons, we do hackathons in our place. So we would be using potentially ChatGPT, right? Our participants would be using it to learn about the topics that they're going to try and solve through these hackathons, right? How much weighting would you give that kind of research? So I can go and ask ChatGPT anything, right? I can go tell it, from A to Z what I want to build, and it'll go build it for me, including code. But, how much should I depend on it, and what are the pitfalls? Have you guys thought through that? Any input on that?
Actually,
I think I'd like to, please go ahead, Gladys.
We gave them to do it as a homework, to be prepared to hackathons with whatever they like. Also, ChatGPT during the hackathon itself, we used ChatGPT for something else because we speak Hebrew, and they usually give names for their project in other languages, most of the time English. We asked them to check what is the meaning of this word, the name that they give in other languages, because sometimes you give a name, but it sounds terrible in other language. It's the meaning is not what you wanted them to be. And this is how we used it by now.
Okay, so you're not using it for boot camps yet, right? So because if you give it to them for homework, then they've got more time.
Yes.
Okay. So
I understand that the ChatGPT is different from Google to the extent that you could put in an item that you want to research on Google, and you'll get several, if not many, sites that you can go to. You choose which sites you want to go to. You choose which Google addresses you need to visit. With ChatGPT, up to 2021, it is able to search the whole of the internet and produce a composite document. So if you take a step back from that, and you say, if we accept what Chat can do for our kids, and we teach them how to use it in a positive manner, I would assume that that would be one of the first steps. I don't know if anybody else would like to comment.
I'm going to share my screen. Maybe this would be a good thing to discuss, because as you're saying, Celeste, we're past the information age. So ChatGPT and AI has turned us into the knowledge era. Knowledge is already processed information. And so sometimes what you already get are decisions. And people trust AI because it sounds so real. It sounds so true. And most of the time, it does really good research. So it presents to you something that's very good. But then again, it's still a robot, and there are many pitfalls, and it generates lies as well and misinformation. But this is the kind of information that we can get from it.
I'll be honest with you. I am extremely pessimistic. All of my experience so far with this artificial intelligence has been incredibly negative in many different directions. We've already had a case in my school where a student has turned in essays that were written by the AI program. The teacher said she was able to detect it, and I don't know how she did that, but evidently there's some sort of an AI program out there that detects AI programs. I don't know about that, but my experience has been that the kids are using technology, but not understanding technology. So they all know how to use a cell phone. We can't even hold it up very well. But when you say, how does it work? They have no idea. They just rely on it. And I'm afraid that may happen with this new technology. They will rely on it without understanding it. And then when it gives them wrong information or inadequate information or other issues, they won't know what to do. They won't be able to handle it.
Is it not up to us to teach our kids to use it? To be discerning, to understand, to become a proper prompt writer. Because the more detailed your prompt is in AI, the better the result will be. But it will also depend on what you're asking it. If you're asking AI an ethical question, it's not going to be able to give you an answer because it can't think.
No, Celeste, it will. It will. No.
will.
That's the problem. It will give you an answer.
Yes. Jake's absolutely right. It will generate an answer. It is left up to the person asking the question. There's a Wall Street article I'll send you guys. You'll find it very interesting to read, that ChatGPT kept going forward with bringing suggestions for restaurants for this person that wanted to go to a date, but never detected that the person they were taking out on a date is a 13-year-old. So there's a lot of issues with it. But I want to go back to what you just show, Alevil, knowledge generation. Okay, so here is something that we want to do in our platform. We are big on knowledge generation. So we do everything contextual. Our projects, our collaboration, so discussion forums, audio videos, everything's contextually put together. Now, would you think that knowledge generation, if kept in context of particular topics, so in our case, we would be solving, let's say we're solving the problem of OCR, right? So if we kept everything contextual and used knowledge bases, used ChatGPT to provide people that are solving the problem contextual information for that, what is your opinion on that from the research you've done on knowledge generation?
Claire, maybe you have something to share about that?
I'm not sure how to answer that question. From my own experience with ChatGPT, I mean, we use it for prompt. I mean, you have to know how to prompt it, but I think our approach is very much having learners learn how to use it and having policies, like we've had to update the policies in the school to incorporate use of AI, and making sure that part of the academic integrity is that learners disclose if they're using it or not, and that they kind of put in a trace of what were the prompts, why did they use it, because it's not just ChatGPT, it's any form of AI, that they explain what they've used and why. So that just becomes incorporated into the educational process, because I think our general feel is that it's something that we can't fight. It's happening, whether we like it or not. So we have to teach the learners how to use it correctly, and how to be open about it, and disclose what they're using and why. We've certainly used it from an educator perspective, to look for things like, just if you're generating a multiple answer quiz, multiple choice is what I'm looking for. Multiple choice quiz, for example, you can put your text in and then say, give me 5 multiple choice questions based on this quiz, and it will do it, and it just saves you time. It's a time saver for that kind of thing, but obviously always needs to be used with that kind of critical thinking perspective, reading through, checking through that it's correct. But it does work very effectively for saving time, or giving suggestions for a lesson outline. For example, you put in the theme of what your lesson wants to be, and it will come up with a whole load of suggestions of what you can do, and you can dive deeper into the prompt each time. Say, okay, give me an idea of a lesson plan on X, Y, or Z, and then it'll give an idea, and then you say, okay, or it might give you an idea of a lesson plan that's like an hour and a half long. You say, no, my lesson's just an hour, can you reduce it down to an hour? And it just provides all of that, which you can then use that to incorporate as you deem fit. So you can adapt it in your own way, but it really does give a springboard and a assistance, and it helps to cut time down for doing some of these preparation things, which typically take a long time for teachers. So I think from that point of view, that specifically ChatGPT is very useful for that.
What I'm gathering, Claire, if you format, in your case, the way you're teaching it is, let's format the question so we're getting very contextual answers. So that's what we want to actually embed in so we have an ecosystem. So there's all this discussion forums, there's learning, right? Skilling, if I don't know. So I'm a domain person, I'm a geologist, I don't know how to use Python or, any one of the languages. So when I come to it and I need to solve something, I can say, okay, how do I solve this in Python? And if it takes me to some answer there, that contextual learning, you think will work, correct?
I mean, I think it's a tool at our disposal that we can use, but it shouldn't rely on wholeheartedly. So yes, I think using it to carry out research or to ask questions, or as in the same way that we would use Google, I think being able to use it as a resource is important to understand how to use it. But again, as everybody's mentioned here, having the critical thinking behind it to be able to interpret the answer that you're given, and being able to, that's really important to develop that skill in our learners, that they can recognize what is valid and what isn't. I think that's really important.
Thank you. And I think
sorry, go ahead, please.
I was just thinking that maybe what Claire was also saying answers the question in the fact that the policies have to be in place, and that means educators have to have a good understanding of this technology in order to create policies on its usage, because as you said, we can't really escape it. And I'd like to share this short clip that is how I just discovered this today. this was inspired by the presentation, the first presentation, this gift, which was How Cities Die. And I was just fascinated at how fast I was able to make another presentation that is related to that. And I have no background in architecture or anything, but you know, if I'm a student and that's the assignment, and this just makes it so easy. And how can you as a teacher really check for understanding? Now, there are some AI detectors like GPT-0, and you copy paste the information onto there, and then it detects if it is mostly done by AI or human text, but it's also not foolproof. At the same time, with this kind of thing, would each teacher have to do that for all the assignments submitted? It's really not going to be easy.
But it's worse, Alevil, as a teacher, that's one thing. But look at it from the student learning point of view. That young woman, Emma, who Claire, I think you know, gave that presentation about cities in the beginning, was brilliant. It was wonderful. It was
Yes.
fantastic.
Absolutely, yes.
And it took her a long time to do that and a lot of thought. And then Alevil created something else by pushing a button. And that destroys Emma's value. And not only to society, it destroys Emma's value to herself, because now pushing a button is just as good as her hours and hours of work.
But Alevil's pushing a button hasn't taught her anything about the death of cities. She's enabled AI. She's got some pictures. She has some very good points there and some subheadings. But unless, if that was to be part of her, I don't know, social studies group class, unless there's some kind of an oral exam, for instance, she would not be able to make a presentation as the First Lady could.
Yes, she could. She could
just studied the subject properly.
Just read it.
And I jump in there. I think that I totally agree with you, Celeste, from the point of view that they won't be learning. Obviously, if you're using a program to make your presentation, yes, you need to review it and check that it's okay, but you're not necessarily learning, which means that the way that we're evaluating needs to change. So that having a learner give a presentation has to be followed by a Q&A discussion where you're diving deeper and you're asking questions about what they've presented, so that they're put on the spot and they have to do it orally, and they're not dependent on an AI unless they have something which is answering the question for them in lifetime, which I guess, if they've got which speaks to kind of technological skills. But yeah, I think that's something that's really important, is to think about how we're assessing the learners, knowing that they do have all of these tools at their disposal. And I mean, the whole plagiarism is something that has been around for a long time. This doesn't really change that. Having an essay that they could quite easily have copied and pasted from somewhere else, that's something we're already very familiar with. But I think, yeah, that I was just responding to what you were saying, Celeste, there about just evaluating them differently.
Maybe Amy, you have any ideas
from
evaluation, or maybe you, Michelle.
Sorry to just jump in there, but from everything, I think the question that comes with the advent of AI, today there's ChatGPT, tomorrow it could be something else. And the transformation of education from what it was originally to learner-centric pedagogy is, how do we as educators merge this and guide the learners of today and the future to be able to get to learn things that they are actually interested in a way that they could transform into practical sense?
I agree. I think kids that are, if we're teaching different and it is more learner centered, and kids are having to create a community garden or whatever, they may use it to research what kind of plants to put in or what kind of soil is needed, but they still have to come up with the questions to ask to get those answers, and they still have to produce the garden. So I think our teaching our approach, or making it learner-centered, as you said, Michelle, is the key. And then, as Claire said, how we assess their understanding, it's got to be different than, sending home an essay to do for homework that they're going to just, go to. We don't know. We have to talk to our kids. We have to have relationships with our kids, and do our teaching and learning in a different way. It can save teachers tons of time. I know here we have kids that are in 4th grade that have a kindergarten reading level to a 12th grade reading level. How are teachers supposed to have the time to always meet all the different reading level needs and all the different needs? The span is getting bigger in our classrooms, and having that personal, we can generate things quicker as teachers to personalize our learning so that they're not waiting.
Great point, Amy. So actually, our time is almost up, but we could continue this discussion at another time. And also, if you're interested to listen in to the students continue the discussion, please stay they will have another 30 minutes to also talk about AI and ChatGPT from a student's perspective. So I do agree with all of what has been said in this discussion, that the challenges and the potential benefits are there, but as the adults right now, we should find ways on how to balance, how to teach it properly, how to work with it so that the kids don't run away with it and we're left not really able to manage at all. So I hope that there will be more discussions regarding this, and all ideas, of course, are welcome as we navigate this new era of knowledge from AI and ChatGPT.